Hey everybody, Lincoln here with Eastwood Guitars. The other day I sat down and had a talk with a good friend of Eastwood whose YouTube reputation really precedes him, so he needs very little introduction. But enjoy my talk with Mr. RJ Ronquillo. I've got you listed. The title I wrote down was YouTube Demo God.
Demo God. All
Yeah.
right. I've been promoted.
So thanks for joining, first of all. Thanks for having a
Yeah,
conversation.
thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So you have an extensive log of YouTube content. You've got a lot of YouTube content. So we may be retrotting some ground that you've covered in some of your YouTube videos. So forgive me for that in advance. But I'll also use that as an opportunity to plug your YouTube channel and tell everybody to go there.
Sounds good.
Great content, great live streams.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. This I'm probably going to rewind it all the way back to the beginning, if you don't mind. Like, how did guitar come onto your radar? Even how did you get interested in starting?
So my guitar story started with a lot of people in my generation. Um, I kind of pinpointed to Back to the Future was my touchstone. So seeing guitar in the movies and on TV, MTV, whatnot, that sparked my interest. I can't say there was one particular guitarist or performance that really caught my attention. I think it was just like the sum of everything that was happening in the mid '80s
Yeah,
with MTV and movies like Back to the Future and La Bamba and like Crossroads and all that stuff. So plus my dad is a hobbyist musician and plays piano, sings, plays guitar, saxophone, and everything. So we had music. We had music all over the house, um, instruments all over the house. And I started with piano. I moved to drums, and I didn't really pick up guitar until 9 or 10. And once I caught on to that, that was like that's where I'm staying. That's like the entrant for me. Plus, I thought it was cool. When you're a kid, you're like, oh, guitar is the cool instrument because Eddie Van Halen and I don't want to be a drummer. I don't want to be a singer. I want to play guitar.
yeah, yeah.
So it all kind of started with that, and like the first music I was listening to was actually like 50s rock and roll,
Oh, nice.
incidentally, which is kind of like what now I don't say I'm known for, but it's odd to see someone my age that grew up in the 80s really grab hold of a decade and the music of a decade that was
Yeah.
before me. So
Well, arguably, I know that like rock and roll has its influences, hundreds of years before, a lot of rural blues. But does that kind of make sense for guitarists to start with kind of the first stepping stones of what was rock and roll and kind of the electric guitar coming onto the scene?
yeah, it does. Even though a lot of musicians don't, but I think one of the things that I learned in music school was to really study. If you really want to learn something, you have to study where it came from. So for instance, if you're learning a particular song that's like a jazz standard, for instance, I was taught you want to listen to the very original song, which was likely a vocal song from a show, like a show tune or something. So a lot of these jazzy songs that Miles Davis and Coltrane played were actually from like musicals or really
Yeah.
dorky, nerdy, square musical environments. So in that respect, um, for me, when I started getting into rock and roll and I got into blues, it was important for me to um, retrace the steps and discover where these artists' influences were, and
Yeah.
back and back and back. So, and that didn't really happen at the beginning. Like I was, young and green. I didn't really have the desire to retrace my blues influences all the way back to, you know, the Delta and
Sure.
um, W.C. Handy and all that stuff.
Yeah. The a friend of mine recently made a post where he was kind of tracking back the phylogeny of of certain musicians, like how Albert Lee kind of informed the music of Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan, especially, and then John Mayer
Mhm.
kind of took after him. But there's a slight twist each time it's adapted. You know, people, their own ear informs what they learn or what they hear or how they play what they hear. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
it's kind of like the phone call game where you tell the next person something and at the end it turns into something totally else. It's
absolutely.
basically like everyone's digesting it differently.
Mm,
So you're gonna come up with different styles and different um, versions of the same kind of home style.
yeah, yeah. That's all to say. Like, I can absolutely. I feel like I could spot you're playing with my eyes closed. Just
Yeah,
because I mean you've got an amazing style. You make anything sound good.
thank you.
Yeah. So getting into also not just learning the guitar, but I think now you're probably known the most as just being everywhere on YouTube, you know, demoing guitars. If people are looking up a certain guitar demo, they're going to run into you before too long. But
It's gotten that way, yeah.
yeah, how did that ball get rolling?
Well, that all started with Eastwood actually, and I like to tell this story because it's interesting. This was probably around 2010, maybe 11. I had seen one of the Eastwood, like I had known of Eastwood, seeing the ads in the magazines and everything.
Sure.
Um, and I had seen a particular model, which is this model. Might as well show it off. I can't remember where or why I was interested in this model, the tuxedo.
Yeah.
I actually, now that I think about it, I feel like I was interested in that model, and then I finally saw somebody playing it live, um, which was why can't I think of his name right now? Hold on. Um, I'm blanking because I haven't had my coffee. He used to do demos for you guys way back.
Oh,
Um,
when was it? Wendell Ferguson?
no, after around me, young
Oh,
guy plays with Jackson Brown now. Um,
I'm not.
Mason, Mason Stoops. Why
Yes.
can I couldn't think of
Mhm.
Mason's name. So I was living in LA at the time, and Mason's in LA, and we were playing the same night at the Viper Room on Sunset. I can't remember what his band was, but it was a totally different band than what I was playing. And like I was in a quasi punk hardcore band, and he was kind of like an indie rock thing at the time. I can't remember. He probably doesn't remember this. I don't
That's
even
a show
think.
I want to see.
Yeah.
Wide
Well,
range.
but he had, I believe it was a black tuxedo, and I was like, oh, that's the guitar I've been looking at. And I saw him play it. I'm like, oh, that sounds really good. So he was the one that demoed it for me, you know. So I was like, okay. I definitely want that. So um, I think they had one in LA at True Tone Music in Santa Monica,
Yep.
but me being the cheap, you know, underpaid musician at the time, I was like, well, let me see if I can contact Eastwood to see if they do artist pricing. Because you know, at the time I had done some touring and I had relationships with different companies, string companies. So I'm like, okay, let me try this with this
Mhm.
company. And I probably like sent Mike my resume, like, yeah, I played with Stevie Wonder and Ricky Martin, and all that stuff didn't really matter. But I think I had said, well, why don't I could do like a YouTube guitar demo or whatever I called it. I could demo the guitar and put it on this thing called YouTube. This was early on, you know, 2010 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and we agreed. It's like, okay, I'll give you artist pricing. You just do the demo. And I did it, and it kind of it was okay for a little bit, but it was a slow rolling process. It slowly gained traction and more after time went by. It's not like today where it's like in 24 hours you've got like 4,000 views.
Yeah.
I don't think it got 4,000 views for like 5 or 6 years or something. But I think after a while it was on YouTube, and we both kind of forgot about it. And then out of the blue, Mike hit me up and said, this tuxedo demo you did pretty good, and we'd like to send you another thing to try. So it was kind of like a guitar here and there, like
Yeah.
every couple months maybe.
Yeah.
And then it kind of picked up to where it was like, here's 5 guitars and do them when you can.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it slowly picked up like that. And eventually I started touring like every year.
Mhm.
So the whole video thing was my side gig.
Yeah.
And then in 2018, I decided that I wanted to go YouTube full time and put gigging on the back burner. So that's what I did. So for the past 2.5 years, I've been just full time YouTuber.
It's awesome. How is that in terms of quality of work? Are you happier doing that? Is it easier on you? Is it, come with its own challenges, I'm sure?
Yes, it's probably the hardest I've ever worked, but it's the most gratifying job that I've ever had. And I get asked all the time if I miss touring, and I don't.
Yeah.
A lot of it probably has to do with age, and just kind of tired of that. It's the same kind of thing all the time. It's not, it lost excitement for me.
Sure.
That being said, I still love playing music, and if the right phone call came, I would definitely go back on the road.
Yeah.
But for right now, I'm super comfortable. I feel like I'm working for myself. I'm my own boss. I
Mhm.
feel like I have my own company.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so it's been great. But like I said, it's the busiest I've ever been. I mean, I have a laundry list of video work and other types of work that I work through all the time, and it keeps on getting added to because I get more gear from pedal companies, amp companies, other guitar companies, and
Yeah.
um,
They're throwing logs on your proverbial fire. They're
oh yeah, it's like I, I mean, my wife will tell you like sometimes I complain, like she'll catch me complaining, like I got all this stuff to do that, and if I'm complaining, it's mostly because I feel like I don't have enough time in the day to
yeah.
finish what I want to finish. But that's because
I'm sure it comes out as I got all this free stuff.
yeah, it's like I don't know where to put all these guitars anymore. It does. It's horrible like that. But I'm so thankful, and I'm grateful for falling into this kind of gig. Um, and beyond the YouTube thing, another thing that, and if anyone wants to get into YouTube, my recommendation, my thing to say is I don't do just YouTube. I
Mhm.
don't think I could um, really make a great living just doing YouTube. So there's other things I do. I make guitar courses.
Mhm.
I sell merchandise. So there's multiple streams of income that I've
Sure.
chosen to spread myself over. So even though people know me as the YouTuber, I have my hand in different pots.
Yeah. You're a busy guy.
Yeah.
The
So the busyness is all my fault, really.
you set yourself, you made that bed.
I did, yeah.
The coming back really quick to the tuxedo. Um, I think it is out of production now, but you had a signature model tuxedo that had the cutout. That was
Still do.
yeah.
I keep them right by my desk.
Yeah, the double cut. Man, that just, it has some like Speed Demon vibes.
Yeah.
Um, what came on your radar first? Was it the tuxedo or was it the Barney Kessel model that was like the inspiration for the tuxedo?
Good question. I think it was probably the tuxedo because I probably didn't know about the Barney Kessel model, those Ks, until
Yeah.
I knew about the Eastwood stuff. And I think that's kind of how a lot of it goes. Like Eastwood has so many models that I had never seen, and like, oh, that comes from this, obscure company from Italy or from
Yeah.
Japan or something. So it's
It's
kind of a cool way to discover the history of odd instruments.
absolutely. I feel like I've gotten an education since coming to Eastwood several years ago. The way we have an inverse relationship with Eastwood, I feel like, because I found out about Eastwood through your demo of the Bighorn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I was
think that was the second guitar that he sent me.
really. I was
Yeah.
working for Reverb at the time, and like YouTube videos get passed around through the Slack channels at Reverb, and somebody posted that video and it's like, check this out, and that led me to the Eastwood site, and I was like, this is a cool company. Uh,
That's crazy.
yeah.
That's a long time. That was a long time ago. Was it Red?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, that was the second video I did. And I want to say that was kind of the one that was like, oh, this is doing really good. So that was, even though the Tuxedo was first, I think it was the Bighorn video that really
You,
solidified that.
you found is did you kind of get into a rhythm or find a stride around that time, or?
Yeah, well, the cool thing is I basically played the way I like to play. So I wasn't, and that's kind of how I still do my videos is I basically play how I want to play as
Yeah.
long as it serves the product. But back then I was just doing whatever, and little did we know that there was like this community that really liked old school blues and rock and roll and
Yeah.
slide and Delta blues stuff.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, "Yeah, I'll just do that. That's my thing, and people will they'll either click with it or they'll do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, yeah. A friend of mine also said that, like, everybody has an audience, no matter what your music sounds like or style is. Like, you'll find some kind of audience out there. It's just a matter of like distribution at some point.
Yeah, that's why YouTube is so successful because you can have a successful channel about anything.
Yeah,
There's the dumbest videos on YouTube.
this one included.
No.
No, speaking of your signature models, you had the signature Tuxedo. Last year we did a signature color scheme on the Mandata, Revolta Mandata baritone.
That is, it's in the case over there.
Just reaching from every angle of the screen,
Yeah.
getting guitars. That is, I love that the Miami Vice color scheme you've got there.
Sure.
Matches your Novo.
Yes, that was based around the color scheme of my Novo Cirrus.
That's one of my favorite stories to tell, just being at that event in the Novo showroom after it was Summer NAMM 19, I think. But they do that, and they give Rhett one of his Novos.
Mm-hmm.
And
That was a good time.
It was a very fun time. Let's see. So you don't just demo standard guitars. Like, going through your backlog, people notice that you're demoing tenor guitars and baritone guitars and different scale lengths, different feels, completely different instruments.
That's Mike's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's the only one that sent me. Here's a Mando whatever, Mando cello, or here's a tenor, or an instrument that I've never played, but I'll figure out, type of thing.
Well, I hadn't had a chance to ask him this, so I was going to ask you. Did he just kind of push it on you and say, see what you can do with it?
Pretty much. I mean, he asked me if I could do a demo for this, meaning like, can you play mandolin or can you play tenor? I probably said something like, yeah, I could probably figure it out. So far, there hasn't been a stringed instrument that's come through here that like I've been totally clueless on. I think if they had sent me that microtonal one,
yeah,
because I remember playing that in Liverpool with Carl.
Yeah,
and I had no idea, like I didn't know how to make anything musical with it.
it's a completely different school of thought, like when it comes to microtonal instruments. So some people like them just to get super spacey and push the absolute edges of like, it's a departure from Western music. So yeah, it's
so,
wild.
That's one thing I couldn't do.
For anybody watching, that's the Univox High Flyer Phase 4 MT. So MT for microtonal. We also have the standard Phase 4 standard fretted. Let's see. I also want to bring up your Saturday morning stream, Saturday morning coffee Q&A. Always a pleasure to watch that. I want to plug that if given half a chance. Are there any other projects that you want to plug in particular for people to sign on for?
Um, I do have a slide guitar course that's on Udemy, but I also have a new one that I'm slowly working on with my friend Brett Papa, who does a lot of really cool videos as well. And we're working on I don't know, we don't have a title for it, but it's basically like a jazzy blues course. It's basically like a beginner look at my blues style, which
Yeah,
is kind of what comes through in a lot of the Eastwood videos, is this
sure.
kind of vintage blues infused with jazz type of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to teach it.
Nice.
That's the goal. But that's going to be we're going to be filming this month, and hopefully in a couple months it'll be out.
Yeah, I know I have. I'm sure a lot of other players have also just like tried to emulate that a little bit, or like have that style in their head as far as like when it comes to noodling or learning something by ear or sounding something out. Um, that style of blues, a little bit jazz infused, um, really comes to the forefront, kind of floats to the top.
Yeah, it's just really that style was based on the top of my musical tastes, really.
Nice.
So blues is always going to be at the top.
Mhm.
And then jazz is something that I got into at an early age. I think 13 is when I started taking proper jazz guitar lessons. But then I
Yeah.
studied it in college, and that's what I got my degree in. And then after college, I'm like, no, I don't want to play jazz anymore. So once I grew up and matured, I'm like, yeah, let's bring back a little bit of the jazzy stuff.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
there's that 1950s style that you were talking about, that you kind of started off with the 1950s guitar, with Chet Atkins and everybody. Then they were always kind of inserting jazz licks into like rock and country.
yeah,
You'd hear a phrase maybe borrowed from something else that's arpeggiated or just really sticks out as a very 1950s thing that I see you insert in some videos that I'm always impressed by. I'm like,
yeah. I mean, looking at it, I think the 50s was really the golden age of guitar because you think about how many innovations were being developed and how much guitar stuff was coming out, plus the invention of electric guitar and the the way it was being used and crossing from jazz into blues and then eventually rock and roll. So that was kind of like the transition period of musical genres. Um, and it's funny because you can actually hear it in the drums.
yeah,
The early drum recordings, like Little Richard, or the stuff that was being recorded in New Orleans, um, you could tell that half of the musicians wanted to play rock and roll, like straight eighth notes, 16th notes, but the drummer would still be swinging because
yeah,
they weren't aware of it was so new that it didn't exist, playing straight drums. So
yeah.
you had that juxtaposition of some musicians playing straight and some musicians playing still that swingy jazz feel.
Yeah, interesting, because it is kind of coming out of the big band era, and there was a lot of Cuban influence at the time. I know, I don't
Yeah.
think rock and roll would exist without those Cuban influences. So yeah, there has to be a lot of transition in drumming that period. I'm gonna go back and take a listen to some of my
It's
favorite.
I want to say you can really hear it in some of the very early Little Richard stuff. Um, maybe like Fats Domino
Yeah,
stuff or whatever.
man. I'm always looking for like an album a day, so I'll throw
Yeah,
Little Richard on today.
go check it out.
I've got two more questions for you, then I'll let you go. You're a busy man.
Sure.
The with your Q&A session and interviews like this, you're answering a lot of questions all the time. Is there one question that comes up a lot, or like kind of a ridiculous question that you get a bunch that you're tired of answering?
Not really. I mean, I always get asked like, how did I start out and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
I I I think I tell the same story. I feel like I've been consistent with it, but no, I mean, I feel like a lot of these kind of interviews have always been a little bit different.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So for the last one, I do like to kick it off with a fun one.
Okay.
So and I would be willing to bet you've been asked this question before, but do you have a desert island album?
Ooh. Well, it's funny. I get Desert Island guitar or amp or pedal or rig a lot. I never get the Desert Island album.
The best musicians are the best listeners. So people have really fun albums to throw out here, I've found.
It's man, that's the hardest thing is picking one album that's kind of like the ultimate album to listen to over and
Yeah.
over again. Um, I really don't, but today I would probably say like Jimi Hendrix Band of Gypsies.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, maybe because I'm wearing the
Oh,
shirt.
there you go.
I mean, I go through phases, which each phase lasts maybe a day or half a day.
Sure.
So my taste changed as it goes. But like right now, I would say like if I had to listen to one record top to bottom over and over again and not get bored of it, it would probably one Jimi Hendrix album. And then which album would it be? I'm like, you know what? Today I think Band of Gypsies is my favorite.
I know what you mean. Next week for me, it might be bluegrass, it might be pop punk, it might be,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
totally. So
Well,
that's what it is.
thanks for coming on, RJ. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, Lincoln.
Yeah, no problem. I'll talk to you again soon. Hopefully, we'll be able to see each other in person before too long once stuff starts coming back to life.
Yeah, well, Summer NAMM's happening in July.
I don't think we're going to be there, at least not at the event, but I might swing down to Nashville just to say hey to folks.
Yeah, we don't know what's happening. I'm just playing it by ear. Who
Yeah,
knows if it's going to get canceled again or whatever. So
we've got to roll with the punches.
yeah, exactly.
All right. Thanks again, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Lincoln.